I still remember the first moment she told me she was pregnant. We were in our tiny kitchen, sunlight pouring through the window, her hands trembling as she held the test out to me. I'd always imagined that moment would feel like fireworks, but instead it was soft, quiet like a candle being lit. Her eyes shimmered with tears of joy. And I hugged her so tight I could feel her heart beat against my chest. We spent that evening talking about baby names, scrolling through nursery furniture online, imagining a future that felt both exciting and terrifying back then. She was still her usual self, gentle, considerate, with a laugh that could untangle any knot in my chest. She would lean on my shoulder as we watched TV, absent-mindedly rubbing her stomach as if already comforting the life growing inside her. Those were the days when everything still felt like a dream, when my only worry was whether I'd be a good dad. But pregnancy, I've come to learn, is not just a physical transformation. It's emotional, hormonal, tidal. Around the 4th month, I began to notice small shifts. She grew hungrier, yes, but also more irritable. At first it was little things she'd sigh dramatically if I forgot to refill her water glass, or frown when I got home late from work. I brushed it off. Hormones, I told myself. This isn't her then. As the months went by, the complaints got sharper. Why didn't you pick up my prenatal vitamins? You never cook me what I'm craving. You don't understand what it's like. She'd snap. Then a moment later, her eyes would well up and she'd say she was sorry. Each time, I'd reassure her, tell myself to be patient. I knew pregnancy could be hard. I'd read the articles, but living it was different. By the time she was 7 months along, we'd settled into an uneasy pattern. She would demand. I would try to comply. She'd cry. I'd feel guilty. It wasn't always bad sometimes. She'd still cuddle up to me, still smile like she used to. But there was an edge to our days now, a tension I couldn't quite shake. I'd begun to feel like I was walking on eggshells in my own home, my own marriage. Yesterday had been one of those days that started normally enough. She'd gone to visit her parents for the afternoon. I took the time to clean up the living room, vacuum the rug, and knead dough for homemade pizza, her favorite, or at least it used to be. I wanted to surprise her, to show her I still cared, even though I was tired from work and my back ached from bending over the counter. When she came home, the smell of pizza filled the apartment. I remember the sound of the door closing, her footsteps, the faint rustle of her coat being hung up. "Hi, honey," I called from the kitchen, grinning like an idiot because I thought she'd be pleased. She walked in, glanced at the pizza, and frowned. "I don't want pizza," she said flatly. "I want chicken dumplings." I blinked. Homemade chicken dumplings. Yes, I'm craving them. I wiped my hands on a towel, trying to keep my voice even. If it's quick and easy, sure, but dumplings. That's going to take a while. Her lips tightened. "I'm pregnant. I'm craving dumplings." "I know you're pregnant," I said, "but I'm not making dumplings tonight." It's 6 p.m. already. That's when her face crumpled into something I'd never seen before, age and hurt all tangled together. She began to raise her voice, accusing me of not caring, of being selfish, of not loving her or the baby. It was like standing in front of a storm I couldn't stop. I tried to keep my cool. "Look, I'll make dumplings tomorrow night, okay? But not tonight." She glared at me, eyes bright with unshed tears. "You're supposed to take care of me." "I am taking care of you," I said, my own voice rising despite myself. "But I'm not your personal chef." Make them yourself, or eat something else. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. But it was too late. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, clutching her belly as if shielding it from me. "You don't love me?" she cried. "You don't love the baby." I stared at her, my chest tight, my appetite gone. The pizza sat cooling on the counter like an accusation. I tried once more. "I'll make dumplings tomorrow night," I repeated softly. "Just not tonight." She turned her face away. "Fuck off," she said hoarsely. "Just fuck off somewhere else." That was the breaking point. Something inside me snapped. All the patience I'd been mustering for months evaporated. Without another word, I went to the bedroom, yanked a bag from the closet, and stuffed it with clothes. My hands were shaking as I zipped it up. The sound was loud in the quiet apartment. She was still on the couch, still crying, when I walked past her. I didn't look at her. I didn't say goodbye. I just slammed the door behind me and stepped into the cool evening air, my heart hammering in my chest. As I drove toward my friend's house, my phone buzzed. A text from her. "Please come back. I'm sorry, please. I need you." I stared at it for a long time at a red light. Then I typed back the same words she'd thrown at me. "Fuck off." The light turned green. I drove on, the city lights blurring past, my stomach a knot of anger and guilt. I told myself I needed space, that she needed to understand I wasn't her punching bag. But even as I thought it, another part of me whispered, "You left your pregnant wife crying on the couch, and now here I am, sitting in my friend's spare room, staring at the ceiling, wondering when our marriage became a battlefield, wondering if I'm the villain in this story or just a man pushed past his limit." I think back to that first night, the test in her hands, the light in her eyes. It feels like a lifetime ago. I wanted to be her rock. I wanted to be the kind of man who could weather anything for her, for our child. But tonight I slammed the door instead. Tonight I drove away. The sound of her sobbing still echoes in my head. The guest room at my friend's place smelled faintly of laundry detergent and old books. He'd set out a spare blanket and a pillow for me, and after we'd exchanged a few awkward words in the hallway, his "You okay, man?" met with my muttered "Yeah, just needed a break," he'd left me alone. The clock on the nightstand read 9:30 p.m., but my body felt like it was still vibrating with the tension of the last few hours. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, trying to slow my breathing. The soft hum of the ceiling fan was the only sound. My phone lay on the bed beside me, screen dark, but I could feel its weight like an accusation. Every few minutes, it buzzed a new text, a missed call. Her name lighting up the screen again and again. First text, "Please come back." Then, "I'm sorry. I'm just so hungry." Then, "I'm scared. Please don't leave me." Each message hit me like a pebble thrown against a window. Small, but relentless. By the fourth one, "I love you. Please." My throat had gone dry. I didn't reply. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard, but every sentence I tried to type felt either too cruel or too weak. I kept replaying the evening in my head, her voice rising, mine rising to meet it. The look on her face when I told her to make it herself. The way she clutched her belly. The words she threw at me, "You don't love me or the baby." But it wasn't just her words. It was the exhaustion etched into the way she moved, the desperation in her voice when she said, "I'm craving dumplings." Part of me burned with resentment. I'd worked all day. I'd made her pizza from scratch. I was trying. Did that not count for anything? Another part of me whispered, she's carrying your child. She's tired and hormonal and scared. Can't you see that? I rolled onto my side, burying my face in the pillow, but the thoughts kept circling. My friend knocked softly on the door. You want a beer? He asked. I almost said yes, but then I pictured my wife alone on the couch. Swollen belly, tears streaking her face, and the words died in my throat. No thanks, I called back. I'm good. Silence settled again. I thought about the first time she made chicken dumplings for me. It was our third date. We'd stayed in her tiny apartment, flour dusting the counters, her hair tied up messily. She'd guided my clumsy hands as I tried to fold the dough around the filling. We'd laughed when my dumplings burst open in the pan. That night she told me cooking was her love language, that she wanted someone who'd make meals with her, not just for her. Somewhere along the way, I'd forgotten that another buzz from the phone. I turned it over. This one was longer. I'm sorry, I yelled. I'm just so tired. I don't know why I'm like this. Please come back. I need you. I'm scared being alone tonight. I sat up, running my hands over my face. The anger that had carried me out the door was draining away, leaving something heavier: guilt, shame, love. I thought of the baby hour, baby floating in the warm dark inside her. Did it feel her stress? Did it know its father had walked out? I stood and paced the small room, the carpet rough under my bare feet. She can't treat me like this, I muttered to myself. I'm not her servant, but even as I said it, my voice sounded hollow. I imagined her sitting there still, staring at the door I'd slammed, every tick of the clock reminding her I wasn't coming back. Maybe she'd tried to get up and cook dumplings herself, but given up. Maybe she was just lying there, one hand on her belly, whispering to the baby for comfort. I stopped pacing and stared at my phone again. I wanted to text back something like, I'll come home tomorrow, or you need to calm down first. But none of that felt right. I thought of my father. He'd been a distant man, always at work, quick to anger, slow to apologize. When my mother was pregnant with me, she'd told me once he'd gone out drinking with his friends instead of being at home. Don't be like him, she'd said. Be better. Was I being better now? I sat back on the bed, exhaling. The anger had been so hot an hour ago. Now it was like ashes. All I could see was her face when she realized I wasn't making dumplings. Not anger, like a child left behind. Another memory surfaced, the day we'd painted the nursery. She'd worn one of my old t-shirts over her belly, laughing as she splattered pale green paint on the walls. She'd stopped halfway through, sat down on the floor, and said she felt dizzy. I'd brought her water, held her hand, told her to rest. She'd smiled up at me and said, "You're going to be such a good dad." Would she still think that after tonight? I reached for my phone again, scrolling through her messages. Her last one, I'm sorry. Please come home. Sent 15 minutes ago. No new ones since dot. What if something had happened? What if she'd fainted or slipped or I stood, heart pounding? This wasn't about dumplings anymore. This was about my wife, my child, my family. I couldn't just sit here while she cried alone. I grabbed my jacket, stuffing my phone into my pocket. My friend poked his head out of the living room as I passed. Everything okay? He asked. I don't know, I said. I have to go back. The night air was cold as I stepped outside, my breath fogging in the dark. The drive back felt longer than it had coming out. Streetlights stretched like ghosts along the road. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. Halfway there, I rehearsed what I'd say. I'm sorry, I should have stayed. I'll make you dumplings. None of it seemed enough. When I pulled into our driveway, the apartment windows were dark except for the faint glow of the living room lamp. My stomach twisted. Inside, the air smelled faintly of pizza gone cold. The box still sat on the counter, untouched. The couch was empty, a crumpled tissue on the cushion. Honey? I called softly, no answer. I found her in the bedroom, curled on her side, asleep or maybe just exhausted from crying. Her hand rested on her belly. Her face was streaked with dried tears. I stood in the doorway, my chest aching. This woman, this life, this mess. Quietly, I towed off my shoes and crossed the room. I sat on the edge of the bed, reached out and touched her shoulder. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. When she saw me, she didn't speak, just let out a shaky breath. Somewhere between a sob and a sigh. I'm here, I whispered. For a long moment we didn't say anything. I just sat there, my hand on her arm, feeling the warmth of her skin. Then, softly, she said, I'm sorry. I know, I said. Me too. Tears pricked at my eyes. The weight of the evening pressed down on me, but so did something else. This couldn't be who we became. This couldn't be the pattern our child grew up seeing. I'll make dumplings tomorrow, I said quietly. We'll make them together, if you want. She gave a small, tired smile. Okay. I lay down beside her, my arm draping over her belly, and for the first time that night I felt something settle inside me. Not peace exactly, but a flicker of hope. We stayed like that until sleep took us both. The sound of her breathing steady against my chest, the faint movement of the baby beneath my hand. Morning light slid through the blinds in thin golden stripes, brushing across her face, her hair, the curve of her belly under the blanket. I woke before she did, still on my side, my arm draped protectively over her. The events of last night settled into my mind like dust after a storm. I'd left. I'd come back. She'd cried herself to sleep, and I'd lain there next to her, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the kind of man, the kind of father I wanted to be. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. For a second, she looked disoriented. Then she saw me and relaxed, her breath catching. You're here, she murmured. I'm here, I said. She reached for my hand under the blanket, squeezing it weakly. I'm sorry about last night. I know, I said softly. I'm sorry too. We lay there a while in silence. The only sound, the distant hum of traffic outside and the soft whoosh of the ceiling fan. Then, as if reading my thoughts, she whispered, I don't know why I get so angry. It's like I'm not myself. I stroked her hair back from her forehead. You're tired. You're carrying our baby. It's a lot. But we can't keep hurting each other like this. Her eyes filled with tears again, but these were quieter tears. I hate who I've become, she said. You're still you, I murmured. And I still love you. For a long time after that, we just lay there. My mind drifted to the months ahead, the birth, the sleepless nights, the tiny cries of a newborn. It would be hard, harder than either of us could imagine. But this moment of stillness, of honesty, felt like the start of something. Around 9, she sat up slowly, swinging her legs off the bed. I'm hungry, she said, voice shy, but not for dumplings. I smiled. What do you want? She thought for a moment. Toast. With jam? I laughed softly. Toast I can do. In the kitchen, the cold pizza still sat on the counter, stiff and congealed. I slid it into the trash, wiped down the counter, and put 2 slices of bread in the toaster. As I moved around the kitchen, she appeared in the doorway, hair messy, eyes puffy but calmer. She leaned against the frame, watching me. I know I'm difficult, she said quietly. I know you're trying. I turned, holding the jar of jam. I'm trying, I echoed. But I need to feel like we're on the same team. She nodded. We are, I just. Sometimes I feel so alone in this. My body's changing, my hormones, my cravings. And I keep thinking, does he really understand? I spread jam on the toast and brought it to her on a plate. I don't, I admitted. Not fully. But I want to. You have to help me understand without tearing me apart. Her eyes softened. Deal, she said. We ate breakfast at the table, sunlight pooling across the wood. It felt like a truce, but also like a turning point. Later, while she rested on the couch, I sat at the kitchen table with a notepad. I wrote down a list of simple meals I could make quickly. I circled dumplings and wrote next to it, make with her on weekends. The act of writing it felt grounding, like building a bridge back to her. In the afternoon, I drove to the grocery store. I bought ingredients for dumplings, chicken, ginger, scallions, wrappers along with some of her favorite snacks. Back home, I found her asleep again, a blanket over her belly, one hand resting on it as if she were already soothing the baby. I put the groceries away quietly and sat in the nursery. The walls were still pale green, the crib unassembled in the corner. A small mobile hung from the window, swaying gently in the breeze. Sitting there, I felt a surge of clarity. This was more than a marriage, more than a pregnancy. This was a family being built, brick by brick, day by day, argument by argument, apology by apology. That evening, when she awoke, I showed her the ingredients. Let's make dumplings, I said. Her eyes widened. Tonight? Yes, together. She smiled, a real smile, the kind I hadn't seen in weeks. She waddled over to the kitchen, washed her hands, and joined me at the counter. As we chopped and mixed, she guided my hands like she had that third date years ago. Fold like this, she said softly, demonstrating the pleat. Flour dusted her fingers, my fingers, the counter. We moved slowly, deliberately. I used to love doing this with you, she said after a while. Cooking together. It made me feel like we were a team. We still are, I said. She looked at me, eyes glistening. I know I push you. I'm scared. About the baby. About everything. And you're the only one here to push. I set down the dumpling wrapper and took her flour-dusted hands in mine. We'll be scared together, I said. But we won't push each other away. Tears slid down her cheeks. I don't want you to leave again. I don't want to either, I whispered. We finished folding the dumplings, steaming them in the bamboo steamer she'd bought months ago. The scent of ginger and chicken filled the kitchen. When we sat down to eat, she took a bite, closed her eyes, and smiled. Perfect, she murmured. I watched her chew, the baby shifting under her shirt, and felt something tighten in my chest, a mix of love, regret, and determination. After dinner, we cleaned up together. She leaned against me as we washed dishes. Thank you, she said quietly. For coming back? Thank you for asking me to, I replied. Later, As the sun set and the apartment dimmed, we sat in the nursery again. She lowered herself carefully into the rocking chair. I knelt on the floor, resting my head against her belly. She ran her fingers through my hair. "You're going to be a good dad," she said softly. I closed my eyes. "I hope so. You will," she whispered. "We'll figure it out." I felt the baby move under my cheek, a faint flutter like the brush of a wing. In that moment, something settled inside me. The anger, the resentment, the fear, they were still there, but quieter now, edged out by a steady, determined love. I thought about the man I wanted my child to see. Not perfect, not unshakable, but present. Someone who could leave when he needed space, but come back when it mattered. Someone who could apologize. Someone who could fold dumplings at a kitchen counter covered in flour. That night, when we went to bed, she curled against me, her head on my chest. "I'm glad you're home," she murmured. "I'm glad too," I said in the dark. I made a silent promise not just to her, but to the baby, to myself. We would stumble, we would fight, but we would also build. We would keep coming back to each other. We would keep choosing love over anger, patience over pride as she drifted off. Her breath warm against my skin, I felt the baby shift again. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. I felt like I was standing on something solid, something we'd built together.